Hello and welcome everyone to today's episode of the Voices of eLearning podcast. I'm your host, JW Marshall with Summit K-12. With me as always is Alina Marie Saleh, the EdTech guru, also with Canva. Thank you so much for joining us. We could not be more excited about today's guest. We have with us Mike Yates, and he is with the Teach for America Reinvention Lab. And I've got so many questions that I don't even know where to start. So I'm going to start with the first question we ask all of our guests, which I've actually stolen from a Teach for America alumnus, Dustin Odom of Franklin Covey Education and the Change Starts Here podcast. It's so good, I have to ask it too. We always ask our guests, not what do you do, but who are you and what do you love about what you do?
Ooh, yeah. I like that orientation. I am first before anything. I'm a husband and a father, which I love. I have an amazing family, 4 kids, and a wonderful life partner and wife, who I get to spend a lot of time with. But I do a bunch of different things around what's called the Reinvention Lab. Anywhere from creating content, making vlogs, videos, building programs like sneaker competitions, and now building sort of like business models and tech solutions for the organization. So I do a number of things. That's why I don't really know like what my title is, or like what my role is. I just show up and do stuff. Like that's just a bunch of stuff. So I think that's what I love the most about it as well. I like the flexibility. I got tired of rigidity in the workplace. So I like that I work remote, and I like that I have these very like different interests that are I guess engage both sides of my brain at the same time. And it's nice to be able to use them. So like, as I'm like later on today, I'm going to go have a meeting and do co-working while we're building this like 2-way marketplace platform, and I'm going to vlog the whole thing. So I enjoy being able to do that at the same time.
Okay, so it sounds like you are an innovator, a Renaissance man. You do it all. But for those in our audience that are not familiar with Teach for America and the Reinvention Lab, if you could just give us a brief overview of TFA, but then really, how did the Reinvention Lab start, and what's its purpose?
Yeah. So in short, Teach for America is the largest education nonprofit in the United States. The easy way to frame what Teach for America does is primarily Teach for America sends young people, so recent college graduates, into low-income neighborhoods to teach for 2 years. If you ask people at Teach for America, what they'll tell you is that TFA is in the business of leadership development. So it's in the business of like identifying the greatest leaders in the country and using teaching as a mechanism to hone those leadership skills and to show them like where they can contribute their skills right out of college. The theory behind that is like when you bet on giving people an experience like that, then they will go off and like they will never forget that experience. They will go off and change the world. This like terminology hasn't yet caught on at Teach for America, but there is somebody on our executive leadership team named Whitney Petersmeyer, whose father did this amazing research with I don't remember which president, but one of the presidents in the past. And he came up with this idea. He's fascinated in trying to figure out like why people do good things at all. Like, why does anybody do good things? And he came up with this idea that there is a random triggering event. There is some event that happens, something that happens to us that makes us go, oh, the world is bigger than I thought it was. And it's more important to care about other human beings than I thought it was. And then they start doing good work in the world. TFA, without using that terminology, is in the business of creating random triggering events for the greatest leaders on the planet. Like, that's technically the goal. The Reinvention Lab was born out of the fact that like along the way, TFA built up a reputation that was good in some places, really bad in some places. As the organization grew, changed, made decisions, made bets, experimented, there were some real failures, and there's real hurt in communities on the part of individuals. And the lab was born out of this idea that TFA needed to do something different so that the organization not just would survive, but that the organization would be like of true service to education, humanity, and leadership in the future. So the lab, 2.5 years ago, yeah, about 2.5 years ago, was basically was two people. I wasn't even there, and then they started hiring people as the work ballooned and as we needed to be bold and build more. And so now we're about 9 people, a staff of 9. So we operate like a small startup inside of the large nonprofit.
Okay, great. So what are some of your biggest accomplishments so far with the Reinvention Lab?
I love to do things that people don't think will work. I am the type of person that if somebody's like, oh, that'll never work. It's not the like watch me do it thing. It's the ha 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 like you don't understand how the world works. I do take it as a challenge, but it is more that um that's not the moment that I dig my heels in at the beginning of the idea where I just know I'm going to be historically right. And my biggest accomplishment is I pulled off this very large sneaker competition that literally people laughed at me and they told me that it was stupid. They told me they didn't understand it. They didn't know why it was going to work. And I did it purely because I wanted people internally to think differently about the possibility of learning and partnership and brand and marketing and art. The secondary goal was to truly be of service to the organizations that we work with. So in the lab, we have a large network of education innovators. Our goal is basically like, we're going to assemble the Avengers. We're going to find the people in the US who are doing work on the outer edges of education innovation, but also care about equity. And that's a very narrow, that's a small niche. But we think if you find those people and you basically use the institutional weight and power of Teach for America to give them things that they don't have, introduce them to people that they don't know, walk them into rooms that they can't get into by themselves, or literally like take weight off their shoulders because they're busy building these incredible ventures, then we think you can see like real shift and real change by supporting those people. This is literally the thought process behind every venture capital firm, only they're just like, we'll give you money. Like, we'll take that burden off your shoulder. Since we're a nonprofit and we don't have millions and millions of dollars to give away, I mean, Arlen Hamilton, Mark Cuban, if you hear this, holla at your boy, like, let's figure it out. We could do that too. But so we basically asked them, like, what do you need? And everybody, people building fantastic, like amazing future forward ventures. You guys had Vriti from K20 Educators. She was one of the people that was like, yo, I'm down to do this. This is weird. Like, let me know what it is. And I'm rolling with it. And I was like, look, we're going to build a design experience where from week 0 to week 6, you're going to work with some of the most incredible sneaker designers and incredible creatives on planet Earth. There's a sneaker brand called I Love You So Much that looks like a ninja shoe. Like, it's got the big toe separated. And the design team wanted that sneaker to feel like a hug from your mom, which is why they called the brand I Love You So Much. And it has the best, like, I would just say it's the best colors, the best feel, right? Like, and one of the best color theorists I've ever been in the same virtual room with, who works in the sneaker design industry. Her name's Sarah. She lives in Colombia. Like, she was a part of this, talking to education organizations about what colors communicate and how you can get people to change their behavior based on the colors they see. So we put them in the room with people like that, saw what designs they created, and then we brought in a panel of judges. They judged it. Now we're like releasing those sneakers. They're on sale right now. Like, shameless plug, go to 99products.com. Like, you should buy some. The idea is that the sneakers are accessible. But what's more important about that is that it's a storytelling engine. Every time I wear them out of my house and somebody's like, yo, where did you get those? I get the chance to tell the story about Homeworks Trenton, which is the organization that won the sneaker competition. I get the chance to tell them the story about the Reinvention Lab. And my favorite thing is when I meet somebody who's a TFA alum and they don't know that the Reinvention Lab exists. And I say that, and it's like that GIF that everybody shares. Their eyes are like, oh, I didn't know that Teach for America was doing this. And I've tracked this metric for myself. Nobody else in my organization knows that I track this, but I count the numbers of, man, I really hated Teach for America, but now that I know that you guys are doing this, I feel much better about the organization. And right now I'm at 59. So like that, to me, that little sneaker competition was the biggest and most important thing that I've done so far. I've just been at the lab for a year and a half. But it's because I'm watching it shift and change the way that people externally think of Teach for America, and internally what people can do. Like, we had a chance to take our entire organization through this design experience, and just like hearing what's coming out of that, like different TFA regions, like TFA Houston, wanting to replicate this in Houston with high school students. People in Las Vegas, TFA Las Vegas, they have a different team name, but TFA Las Vegas, just seeing how it inspired internally, externally. I think that's like right now the thing I'm most proud of.
I think what I love most about that story, and what the work that you're doing, is the importance of showing design thinking and what it looks like on a large scale, but also introducing people who would never have experience to this opportunity. We talked a little bit offline about this, but teachers, we've always been teachers, right? And when you leave school, and anyone who enters usually Teach for America is usually fresh out of college, or fairly new to the work life, real career driven life. And when you expose them to certain partnerships or certain ways of thinking, it opens their minds. And what happens is that starts to transpire outside of just their little tiny network, but they start to bring it, like what you said, happening in Houston, they're bringing it to their high school students. And what happens is that these students, for the first time in their lives, they're free to think and create. Not saying that they may not have had those exposures, but it's just a different level, because you have failure and now you're working with a partner. These people who are big influencers in this space. And it's the first time that the students are like, oh, wow, I'm sitting in a room with these people and they may actually value my ideas. And when they present them back, they do realize that their ideas are valued. And they actually have, sometimes the students will surprise you and come up with some of the greatest innovations that you would have never thought, because their minds are so free and they're so young. They're inhibited by, all these things that we carry as adults, all these extra baggages, and we're not big risk takers, where they are able to take bigger risks. So I think I just love that you're doing that, inspiring them, because then it just inspires others long-term to look towards this model.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think, and for us, the thing that we actually saw, like in this competition, was that the best designs came from the organizations or the founders that like went and built student design teams, right? As a matter of fact, the design that won was like purely and totally designed by students. And now they've made this list of people that they want to get to, from Michelle Obama to Beyonce to like Lizzo. Like, they're like, now they feel like they can do anything. So to watch that go from like the founder of the org and to see it, how it impacted them, all the way to their students, like, is phenomenal.
I think also the way we also spoke about this offline was that you actually had this project come to life is you actually tweeted at someone.
Yeah.
So there's such a power of networking also that these students start getting exposure to. So I think that's really neat that just you yourself and the project happened by a single tweet. So it just shows you the power of what you can do when you put the work in.
Yeah. I mean, like you mentioned, like how teachers, like, a lot of times, like, we only know I remember, like, I have so many conversations where people say, I'll only ever be a teacher. And I remember being in that same seat. Like, I one day I came home and I said probably the most morbid thing I've ever said. And I was like, I will probably kill over in that classroom one day, because I just didn't think that there was a way out. And when I found my way out of the classroom, I remember like the feeling of the world opening up around me. It was like one of those cinematic movie scenes where like the camera's panning, it's zooming away from your face, and the world, like, that's what happened for me. And I was like, oh, I can build a startup. I can take all these skills that I was using in the classroom, all of my side hustles that I wasn't calling business ventures. I was literally just calling them a side hustle. Like, that was this is the culminating experience. And so to watch that happen for other people, like, that is one of my goals in life, is to help free as many teachers as possible from the matrix. Like, not necessarily in ways that make you leave the classroom, but like if you got to get out, you got to get out. Or if you're in the classroom and you need to expand the way that you think about learning or expand the way that you think about human beings, like I hope to do that for people. So like really glad you said that.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. I was in the classroom and I kept thinking, is this it? Like, is this all there is? And then I started working with Kelly Loth at MindSpark Learning, and they do a lot of this. The first time our PD, it was the first time we had a PD where it was like, oh, they're listening to us, or, oh, they're thinking about something new. We actually went to engineering lab and they were making like lenses for like different things, like telescope, like all kinds of different things. And so we went to the refraction lab and we looked at all these other pieces, but we just got to speak with like the engineers. And I remember I felt so excited. I'd never felt that kind of excitement in my day-to-day teaching. While I love teaching kids and I love inspiring them and those types of connections, I just felt like I was doing them a disservice. And so I remember from that moment on, it was like, nope, I'm not going to be doing this like boring rote stuff that bored me when I was in school. I want to inspire change and I want to inspire opportunity. And so I think that work that you're doing and things like Kelly and these other people that are inspiring the world, it's important because what you're saying, free yourself from the matrix. We don't have to just go in one linear line like we always thought we had to go. There's so many different twists and turns, but that also really actually reinvigorates your teaching and brings different opportunities to everybody. So I think it's important work.
Yeah.
Well, and, back to TFA in the classroom, those current teachers talk about how important it is to be innovative, disruptive, dare I say, cool as TFA, as the Reinvention Lab. And how important is that for your members, for your teachers, for their students, for future members? It sounds like TFA has really made an investment in the future and not just doing things the way they've done them for decades and had success, that they are thinking forward, or at least starting to with this Reinvention Lab. And it's really exciting. And we need more things like this to be excited about in education.
Yeah. Like I'll tell you, the person I have to shout out is our CEO, Elisa Villanueva Beard. It is not easy to like become the CEO of an organization like Teach for America,
a legacy organization,
right? And one with an old history. And what's fascinating about Elisa is like, from my understanding of the history, Elisa like led TFA into some better days. Like she led TFA through one of the first real, like very like nationally difficult moments, and is now at this place where the market is shifting, right? The ground is shifting out from underneath all of our feet in education, right? Like the field is changing, and I don't envy her, but like I want to do everything I can to support a person who chooses to raise their hand at a moment like this and say, I'm going to continue to lead. Like it would be very easy for her to be like, I'm going to go to Google for Education. See y'all, right? But like instead, she's choosing to stand up and lead. And so it also takes a lot to say like, we need to hire these people from outside of TFA's pipeline. Like I was rejected for the core in 2015 in like a way that was either very ruthless or they were like watching out for me, in that they shut my interview down short and they were like, look, there's somewhere for you. It's not here. I tend to think now that that person was probably looking out for me, because when you talk about innovation in the classroom, like that's what I came in with. Like I started teaching when I was 19 formally in a juvenile detention center, where I had a 17-year-old kid look at me and say, my brother is older than you. Like, why you better not lecture me. And I was like, dang, because I had lecture notes and I didn't know what to do. I was 19. So I looked at him and I was like, all right, this is my plan. Like I literally like handed him a binder and he was like, nah, we should rip this up. Like we're not doing this. And he literally like, you want to talk about like being thrown in the fire, like right there in the hallway of a juvenile detention center in San Marcos, Texas. This 17-year-old kid like planned the rest of my time there and he was like, no, you're supposed to teach us music and poetry. We need to be doing that. We don't need to hear you talk about it. And so every day he was like, we're going to start off by writing our own poem, and then we're going to switch papers and we're going to evaluate he like built, and that experience taught me, I was like, oh, like young people know far more about learning than we give them credit for. Now, the piece to solve for is motivation, right? Like, how do you motivate young people to go do great work? How do you motivate them to learn? I find like because school has like such a stigma to it, most young people, like when they come to school, they conceptualize it in a certain way. And so being the innovator in the classroom, honestly, being liked and being cool because you're the innovator, that helps disarm students from what they know to be school. And I hesitate to call this place a school, because what I'm about to say, you'll see why. Like, there's a school though in Barcelona called Learn Life, and they're intentionally not Learn Life Academy. Just like I worked on a school in Austin that was intentionally not Alpha Academy, not Alpha School, not Learn Life School. They're Learn Life on purpose. And around there, they say school is a dirty word, because they don't want students to associate what they're doing with school. They want them to associate it with learning. They don't even call them students. They call them learners, or they call them by their first name. So I think like being innovative, really scrutinizing everything that you think you know about school, everything you think you know about education, even going so far as to get rid of the word school from your vocabulary, like doing all of those radical things that make the teacher down the hallway question you. Like, it makes those veteran teachers say, "Oh, you doing too much, stop." Like, those things are really, really important, because that's how you reach students. And I really do mean this. This is like the most cliche thing I'll probably say on this podcast. But like, if every teacher just decided, like, I'm going to get one this year, I'm going to change one kid's life this year, I am fine with that. I had that teacher who, like, I hated school. And in high school, I had a teacher named Mr. Martin, who, by the way, was a TFA alum. uh, he just chose, like, I don't know why he picked me. To this day, I don't know, but he just was like, I see something in that kid, and I will not let him walk out of these doors before he sees it in himself. And just like, my entire life was changed because that one teacher. And he did it for more than just me, but like, really, if teachers just focus on one, and if you just let go of the ego, and if you just choose to do the scary thing and choose to get out of your comfort zone, like, you will change the world.
Well, and not only motivate, which is the first step, but then also creating opportunities, empowering the students to really to take ownership of their own learning, because that's the only way it's going to stick, right? We talk about lifelong learners, and many of us in education and around education need to practice what we preach. And I'm so proud of you for doing that, being and modeling to the students that don't just, do what I say, but do what I do. We're continuously innovating and learning in every classroom. But we also have to give those students the freedom to fail, and we have to give them those opportunities to make their learning journey their own, and not just sit in a classroom and listen to you lecture, which I'm so thankful for that 17-year-old. I want to know where he is today as well. But talk about the importance of creating those opportunities and empowering students to learn.
Yeah. I think like the biggest paradigm shift that I hope that we see is the shirking of expertise from teachers. And what I mean by that is, like, teachers enter every school year believing that they are the expert in the room. And for the most part, like, that's true, right? Like, most teachers know more fifth grade math or geometry than the students that they're teaching. And that will normally always be true. But most academic subjects are not interesting enough in themselves to hold the attention of any child ever. Like,
or any adult.
Yeah, or any adult. Like, oh yeah, don't get me started on adult learning. Adult learning experiences are like the worst, because
they are. Like, college is like, oof.
Yeah.
Until you get into like your more experiential classes. Yeah.
It's, oh my gosh, like, applied sociology, that degree plan at Texas State University saved my college career, because I was like, y'all, I'm not coming here to listen to you lecture to me and 300 other kids. I'm not doing it. I think like when you dig deep and you do, like, you create experiential learning, to me, it's not about, I mean, it does stick. It's the learning that sticks, all the things that people say. It's not really about that though. It's about giving kids a rep with like you said, JW, like a rep with failure. Like my dream is for schools to actually get rid of number and letter grades, because the second you introduce a number and letter grade, you cheapen the experience. It is done. It's over. And so if you can get people to understand that failure actually is like truly a part of the process. And so like you need to destigmatize failure. It's not like there are education voices that are acting like you should celebrate failure. And that is not true. Like failure still should suck, but it should not, it shouldn't be the thing that cripples you and then ends. And I think the only way to do that is like if you start divorcing academic task from IQ, period. Like if you measure, like time is a much more useful measurement of academic achievement, because there's a direct correlation between doing more of something and getting better at that thing. Typically speaking, if you do more, even if you're ineffective, like talk to bodybuilders or talk to personal trainers. And they're like, look, even if your form is bad, your muscles will grow over time. You will get stronger over time. You may develop an injury or you may get injured along the way, but you will improve even with bad form. Like, period. And so there's, every time I say this, there's the people that are like, oh, well, if you practice imperfectly, then you'll get worse. That's not actually true. Imperfect practice over time still equals improvement. And so I think if we can inject some of that sort of mindset and paradigm shift into the learning, like the traditional learning systems, because they're there in these like independent schools, or they're in these wealthy private schools, like the billionaires are getting into the school game and they're getting into it this way, right? Which I am actually very appreciative to see that Jeff Bezos Academy is a thing, right? Like I like that Elon Musk cares about school. And I like it because it will both motivate people in a good way, but also it will upset people enough to start doing something different. So on every front, I want Mark Cuban to start schools in Dallas, Texas. I want Tillman Fertitta. I don't know if Tillman Fertitta listens to your podcast, but I hope he does. And I'm going to send it to him just in case we can get Tillman Fertitta. But I want Tillman Fertitta to build the Houston Rockets Academy, a K through 12 school. I don't care like what the type of school is, but I think like we have to start, these paradigm shifts have to happen.
Yeah.
They're happening in the public sector in these small pockets. Like you guys should know about what's going on in North Dakota. I feel like those people need to come on this podcast. The superintendents in North Dakota got together. They defined what innovation meant for their state. And they're doing things in public school districts like getting rid of grades, mastery-based learning. And people ask them, like, how do you get colleges to care? They're like, look, we just invite North Dakota State into our schools, period. Done, you know? And so I really do think I could literally ramble on about the importance of innovation at the classroom level all day. But I think that's it, right? Like we can talk about policy, we can talk about wide sweeping like agenda changes, but until teachers decide to take it upon themselves to like really pursue innovation at a classroom level, I don't think anything's going to change. And it's harder, like it takes more time, but nothing will change unless we do that.
It does take more time, I think, on the front end. I think once you learn how to do it and you get a couple of reps, it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
The first time you're kind of like riding a bike, right? Like the first time you have training wheels, and then you're on a tricycle, then you have training wheels, and you learn how to ride your bike. Then you get on the big boy bike or big girl bike and you're like, yes, you know, like you're just cruising like nobody's business. It's sort of like that the first time. So the first time you make an innovation risk, it could be something small. It could literally be rethinking how you're doing a math exercise and having them do an application practice, or having them come together and talk about how they actually got their answers. Because if you have 30 kids in the room, I guarantee at least 5 of them have a different way to solve it than the one that you taught them. And they'll do it. They don't care. They're not going to advocate. They're just going to do it that way because that's what feels comfortable to them. And it's okay for somebody else to swim upstream, you know? But you just have to realize that it's okay to take a risk. And I would say start small, like exactly what you're saying. It starts at the teacher level, but it also starts at the administrative level. Like what you're saying, all those superintendents got together. That's important. It's important work for administrators to collaborate with each other. I think we have teachers from the pandemic realizing that they can collaborate with one another, but it's the administrators that are still struggling to, I think, grasp that. And it's tougher because you have a lot more responsibility, right? There's a lot more risk on your shoulders than just the regular teacher. Not saying that they're just a regular teacher, but a single teacher has a little bit less weight than the school administrator who has all the 500 students, all their staff, like that sort of a thing. So I think it's also encouraging like that collaboration. And if you don't know, reach out to places like the Innovation Lab, who would gladly, I'm sure you guys would gladly work with a school district who's struggling to understand how to do innovation and be able to use those practices in their school systems themselves.
Yeah. We're actually like literally in the middle of creating a design philosophy, and we have like we have what's called we're calling it our learning studio, but we coach right now TFA regions like how to create innovation on my own. Like I have a consulting agency called Schoolish that used to be a podcast, and now it's a consulting agency where I work with both. Like right now, I'm exclusively working with homeschool families or people who are interested in homeschool, but they don't think that they can do it. I have a whole nother soapbox about the homeschool industry, and I call it that on purpose. People selling textbooks from 1997. Like, y'all, please stop the madness. Yeah, but
software on a CD-ROM.
I'm not kidding. People
that
have showed
still
up at
happens.
our house.
That's really serious.
Like,
still happening, and they are still selling them like on their sites, like legit CD-ROMs. I don't even know where you would go to figure out how to have a CD-ROM now, but you know.
Yeah. I just saw a website that was like, let me give you the Amazon link so you can buy the DVD player too. I was like, please stop. Like, so
I worked with a tech company, and they had years ago their CD-ROMs that they had used, and they had evolved now obviously to like an online offering, but the teachers still are requesting their old CD-ROMs.
I believe it. Like,
shocks me. I'm like, what? For real?
You know, I wish somebody would do a formal study on this. There's a guy on TikTok. His name is Coach Curtis 88. That's his username, and he is an AP US history teacher. And I bet you anything that his students are nailing the AP exam because he turns all of the historical dates that they're supposed to know into 1-minute TikToks where he's like wearing the wigs, like wearing the outfits, like really, you know, and I just, that's more valuable than any DVD to me. Like I think I personally will help any school get unstuck. If you're looking to get into homeschool, like because of the tragedy that just happened in Texas, I saw a lot of people that were like, I'm afraid to send my kid back to school. And I was like, look, I'm not here to tell you whether or not you should be afraid or not. But if you don't feel comfortable sending your kid back to school, like, please hit me up, and like free of charge, I will hand you the homeschool program that I built for my kids so that you know that at least I trust it. Like, if you trust me as an expert, I will give you the program that is working for me that we built in. This program came from a school that I built in Austin called Alpha. We also built a version of it in Fort Worth. Like, so that offer is like what I'm giving for the next, like throughout the summer, like for free. I will coach you and teach you how to build this into your school. School districts, charter school, anyone who hits me up. Like, I just got a bunch of people from YouTube that just emailed me, and I'm like, all right, great. Like, let's get it going. So yes, coaching. The lab will coach. I will coach. Yep, absolutely.
There are resources out there, and I just have to reiterate again, coming out of this pandemic, this is the biggest opportunity in modern education history to make change and to think big and act big. Sometimes you need to start small and build up, but then build fast and gain quickly, because this window could close. We can't assume that it's going to last forever. Right now is the time, and we talk about that a lot on this show. And also, if you're a teacher out there, you've never been in more of a position of power to innovate and break some rules, because you're not going to get fired. There's a teacher shortage that we're all very aware of. And I'm not saying to be cavalier about it and break rules intentionally, but districts and administrators are more open. Yeah. They're more open now than they ever have been to listening to you, to helping you get what you need to stay, and not just to stay and tough it out, but to stay and thrive. Like, the whole industry is ripe for innovation. And the funny thing is a lot of this has been happening in pockets for years, right? This isn't something that is brand new. And you can find those stories and you can find those resources online to see, oh, someone did this in 2015, 2018, 2019, pre-pandemic. It was happening, but the pandemic has shone a light on what can be. And it is an exciting time. I always say this is the beginning, the dawn of the golden age of education, because we're shedding a lot of the bureaucracy and a lot of the things that haven't really been working for a while, but people were too lazy or stubborn to admit it. And now is the time to push forward and to try new things. And I just love the work that you're doing at the Reinvention Lab to be a beacon of hope and inspiration and innovation for not just TFA, but for all of our educators. So thank you for your service, even though you didn't end up a TFA, or you were maybe ahead of your time in 2015 for TFA, right?
I think so.
But now the time is right. And I know you don't have too much time left for us because we've had such a great conversation, and we're going to have you back on sooner than later. We have a lot of our guests on every 3 to 6 months. We may have you on sooner than that. But what would you like to leave our audience with as far as give them a word of inspiration on what you're doing and what they can be doing to keep moving the ball forward quickly at this critical time right now in 2022?
Yeah, I think it's something that you said, like the combination of I've actually both two comments, right? Like one, like I think at the teacher level and really even like administrators as well, like now is the time to take the risk. Like right before COVID, I remember saying like, oh, this is the moment, like this is it. And I was disappointed, but I was actually wrong. It's like the moment is like the lull. It's like as we're starting to come out of this pandemic, the teacher shortage is worse than it's ever been. And I will also just add, like, it's going to get worse.
Yep.
Because Gen Z is not coming to save us. Generation Alpha is not coming to save. Like what they are telling us, there are whole TikTok accounts where you can find out how much whatever position you care about, how much it pays. They are not coming to teach. And because of that, if you are currently a teacher, like you have all the freedom you need finally to experiment. If you need support, there are organizations, there are school networks that are here to support you, that will not charge you or that will charge you a very low price. The lab, we ain't charging nobody. Like we're giving it, like hit up the big picture learning schools. They give away all their resources and learning for free. Right. So I would say administrators and teachers experiment. And I would also challenge like parents to think differently, think more critically about what school option is right for your family, right? Involve your child in that discussion and really figure it out. Like, what can you afford and what are you willing to put into a school experience? And are you willing to like huddle up with your neighborhood and build your own school? Like, I really think like that can be powerful. Like neighborhood-based micro schools, like finding all sorts of innovations in that way. I think that can be powerful.
And I'll end on this. You owe it to the teaching profession to innovate right now, because that's one of the only ways we're going to get teachers to come back or to keep coming into the pipeline is for the teachers currently there, again, not to tough it out, but to take risks and innovate and get support of your administration, even if you don't think you can. Because when those stories start to go, viral, as well as other reforms, higher teacher pay and things like that, then you're going to be the ones that help make the teaching profession what it needs to be, again, for yourselves, but also for others. So hopefully this has been an inspirational episode to everyone listening, administrators, educators, that now is the time. And I wish we had more time with Mike Yates right now, but I know you've got another meeting and you've got to go. So thank you so much for your time today and sharing your passion, your insights. Thank you, Lena, for sharing your passion and insights. I love co-hosting with you because so many times you're like a guest and a host at the same time because you're teaching experience. And to our audience, thank you for joining us. We're just going to call it right now, part 1 with Mike Yates. Part 2 will be coming down the road sooner than later. And continue to engage with us and our show on social media and, reach out, email, call us, and let us know what you think about the show and more we can do to provide episodes like this for our audience. So thank you both for joining. Thank you to the audience. Check out past episodes and always keep learning.
Bye, everybody.